Okay, hey guys, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Okay, so what I was saying is that this content is for the students in the evening. This is evening, but it doesn't matter whether it is day content or evening content. It's the same. This thing isn't recording though. It makes me a bit nervous. Why is this thing not recording? It is. Strange. Okay, guys, I was just waiting for the recording to start. Sorry, if you're looking at this, you might be like, what on earth is going on here? Excuse me, just to let you know that it is, well, technology, we're all having problems with technology, aren't we? Okay, so it is recording now, which is a good thing. You're just going to have to be patient when you do your viewing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through these notes. This is for evening students. Now, practically speaking, all the notes get repeated because there are day students and there are evening students. So full-time students and part-time students. Just look for, when I load them to YouTube, I'm going to mark them and it's going to say specifically, this is an evening class, this is a day class. But as long as you go through all the classes from 1 to 84, when we finished at the end of the year, if you missed a class, you want to go over the notes, you'll be fine. Doesn't matter if you attend the evening class or the day class, at least in theory. So, I mean, sometimes the discussions are shorter, sometimes the discussions are longer, sometimes some discussions are quick and abbreviated. Some of the discussions have different examples, but the theory is essentially all the same. So that having been said, this was already covered for the day students, but let me make this a short recording on lesson 3 because this was not covered for the evening students because of load shedding and stuff. So let me just make this lesson for you. Let me take it from there. Okay, so last time on the show, I love using my Days of Our Lives thing. So it's like this continuous soap opera of HIMM 432_1. integrated media management. But so last time on our delightful soap opera show, we looked at exactly what media management is in more depth. We wanted to look at what's understanding what media management is, media economics, political economy approaches in the context of media management and media studies. Okay, and now what we're looking at is mass media and mass communication. So this lesson is a continuation of the previous session, and we'll keep on delving into the world of media management and seek to understand that there are factors that can affect strategy in the media industry. Okay, and then define the media industry and discuss the characteristics of mass media, and then have an understanding of the context of managing media work and the fact that media management operates on different levels, so macro, meso, and micro levels. And that, guys, is important, as I said to the previous class, as it relates to your PESTLE analysis, because your PESTLE analysis is basically a macro analysis of the environment in which your company or organization functions. And in this instance, when we refer to environment or environmental factors, we're not talking about green as in like, you know, saving the rainforest or protecting the oceans from pollution. This is about the not hemisphere, what is the word I'm looking for? Not atmosphere either. I cannot think of the word. The sphere, the situation in which your company finds itself, be that a political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental situation, but the sphere that your organization functions in. Okay, so for example, how does a South African media management company focus or exist within the context of Africa? So South Africa is, generally speaking, there are 4 anchor cities, if you will, or anchor countries. So South Africa is generally believed to anchor Southern Africa, Kenya, East Africa, Nigeria, West Africa, and Egypt, North Africa. There are those who would disagree and say that's not true. And within each of those countries, a predominant city, global city, which anchors each of those areas. So Johannesburg for Southern Africa, Nairobi for East Africa, Lagos for West Africa, and of course Cairo for North Africa. Some people would disagree. Cape Townians would disagree. Abujanians, whatever they are, Abuja from Abuja would disagree. And maybe Alexandria or Tunis or Tripoli would disagree. But generally speaking, that's the way we look at it, as the 4 anchor points, you know, of Africa. In the same way the United States has the East Coast anchor point is New York, and the West Coast anchor point is Los Angeles, with Toronto playing a supporting role up north, and then of course Mexico City down south. So if you look at those, and then you have the same patterns, you know, in different cities around the world. In South America, it's Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires and possibly Santiago, and of course in Asia, very complex, you know, continent with lots and lots and lots of big cities. So, and you might say, well, Rob, how is this relevant to? Well, it's about the environment, the atmosphere in which your company, organization functions. Okay, so that's was the point that we're trying to make. Right, guys, so looking at Kung then, your textbook, technological change and development of new boundary spanning categories of media products and increasing competition for audience attention. That was then, but is also now. Okay, we're still seeing that researchers are focusing on business models and how organizations approach these changes, especially the issue of innovation. So I wouldn't even say it a then and now. I think technological change has been at the forefront of old and new media developments. When TV was first introduced, they thought it was going to kill radio. When radio was first introduced, they thought it was going to kill social interactions between human beings. You know, before that. So if you look at all of these different things, you know, the newspaper media believed that radio was going to kill the newspaper, and it hasn't. It's just sort of added to it. So at every cycle of innovation, there's always a prophet of doom and gloom that then gets proven to be wrong because they see that actually in most cases there are instances where media become obsolete because of innovation and technological development and change. For example, it's not a medium per se, but you look at a VCR, a video machine, video playing machine. Video is not a format that anybody uses anymore. It's very old. It's very old school, which was easily damaged. So yes, we now have DVDs or Blu-ray, but even beyond that now we of course have streaming. So I was speaking to the day students or the daytime students about the rise of streaming and how that has affected various business models and supply chains, which we're going to be speaking about later today. Although when you listen to the lectures, they won't seem like they're at the same time because I'm recording them on the same day, but for you they'll be at different times depending on when you listen to the lecture. Okay, so guys, defining the media industry. The Europeans initially, so as I said to you at the beginning, we were talking about where did IMM, integrated media management, take place. It's mostly a phenomenon that started in the United States and then usually spreads across the Atlantic to the UK and Europe, and then usually spreads to Asia and then comes down to the global south. Also from Europe to Australia and New Zealand, which are quote unquote first world, and then from there to obviously South America and Africa and the whole world. So more and more and more, guys, we have an interconnected planet, which is impossible to escape from. So I was at a meeting on Monday evening, and we're talking about, is South Africa a failed state because of, the politics and because of economy, etc. And I think it's becoming more difficult to become a failed state because you're so interconnected with the global economy that somewhere along the line, somebody is going to connect with you and prevent you from being a failed state. I'm not saying that necessarily means that you're never ever going to have issues. South Africa obviously has been grey listed, which is not a good sign. But it usually starts in the United States and moves across to Europe. So in this instance over here, Europeans, before the convergence and impact of digital distribution, you had broadcasting, which is mostly radio and TV, print, which is newspapers, magazines, journals, and books, and motion picture and the recording industries. The United States is very similar. Just also included gaming, sports, and theme parks. Nowadays, when we include these things over here, we see that there's a shift from media to entertainment industries. So you now have the performing arts, which is added, so it becomes cultural industries. And then you add advertising, marketing, and PR, and they become creative industries. I even think advertising, marketing, and PR were at the forefront of these things. It's not like they're add-ons. They were always, at the forefront. Newspapers and radio stations and TV stations make their bread and butter from advertising. And, of course, a certain amount of marketing and PR. Because, remember, if you look at what we spoke about earlier and previously, publicity is what tunes people into a YouTube channel or a radio station or a TV show. It's interest in, human interest stories or stories. Like if you hear, the Empire State Building in New York is on fire because a terrorist planted a bomb on the 100th floor and blew up the top, you're probably going to tune into some medium to see what happened. Similar to 9/11, similar to the interest in the Titanic. Even today, 111 years after it sank, people are still interested in the Titanic. I mean, Titanic, the movie with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, is 25 years old and has now just been re-released, and people are, enjoying it online. So you can see. So there's been the shift to entertainment, but entertainment's always been, part of the media industry. So moving along now, defining the media industry, it's always been tricky since convergence stepped in, and we have this convergence between old and new, or traditional and digital media. It's become more tricky. In the early 2000s, the digital technology sector grew and encroached on the mass media industry. That has only augmented and accelerated in the past 10 years. Since the advent of smartphones in 2006 and tablets in 2010, that has now just become an even bigger, more prominent thing, where there's this huge convergence of technology, and so it's convergence and divergence, and it's all very confusing, but still very interesting. Okay, so What do you understand mass media to be? You can look at your Kung as your starting point. Let's have a look at the characteristics of mass media.